Hello, today I'm going to do a video on the Wicker Basket Kit Honeysuckle Style by Traditional Craft Kits. So in the kit, when we open the bag, is an instructional booklet with color photos, which will follow along for this video. And then we have some paper fiber rush. We have some paper fiber splint, and we have clothespin and some tempera paint that we will mix with water to dye the paper fiber rush to get the two colors here. So I'll get my supplies and come back and show you how to dye the material. I've cut the fiber rush into 2-yard lengths, and there was 10 of them. A couple of the pieces might be a little bit longer, and that's okay, because 2 yards is just a good measurement for being a manageable amount of material to weave with. And so I have half of them we're gonna dye or paint a black color, and the other half we're gonna leave a natural color. So I mixed together the paint with some water, and this can be kind of a messy experience, but this is a pretty easy way to do it. I have accidentally put this material, this paper twist material, into a hot water RIT dye before, and it works really well. So even though it's paper, it doesn't get destroyed if it's submerged in hot boiling water and then taken out. So you can experiment with different ways to dye the material. This way works pretty well. So if you have gloves, you can use gloves, but we're gonna use plastic bags just because I feel like every household probably has some sort of plastic bag. And also, you know, if you do use your hand without any covering, it's not toxic, and it would just take a lot of soap, and you might have slightly dyed hands for a while. But we're just gonna put this in here and move it around. And then try and saturate all of the material with the paint. And you can see it starting to take on color. And these bags, of course, is really probably a funny thing to be on the camera with, all this noise. But you can also just take your fingers and then pull. That's probably a logical way to do it, one at a time, running it through like this. Just take your time. Like this one looks pretty well dyed. And then when they are colored the way you like it, set it aside on some paper towels or newspapers. We're gonna let them dry. So I'll finish doing this and come back and show you the next step. If the prior method was a little bit too chaotic for you, which I agree, it kind of was, this is a calmer way to do it. You can take your paint and mix it with the water, and then take a little bit of paper towel or cloth or something and let it soak in like that. And then put your hand inside of a plastic bag or a glove, and then take your, when it's got some dye on it, take the fiber rush and slide it through like this. And it's not gonna be entirely perfect, and that's okay. And this way you may get some on your fingers if you don't cover this hand, because you're gonna have to pull it through. But this whole process of tinting the material is not gonna be like perfect. It's just giving another shade. And so if you want it perfect, you can certainly spend the time to make sure every little part is colored. And if later on the basket you see another spot wasn't colored, you can always take a Sharpie or a marker, but we are just trying to get a contrasting color for our project. Okay, so see, that was a little bit calmer of a way to do it if you wanted to do it that way. So this basket style traditionally uses honeysuckle vines, which are long, narrow runners. And so the vines are plentiful, and they usually are harvested in the fall or the early spring to avoid excess sap, and they are ground up and dried. And when it's ready to use, then you would boil the vines, and then the outer bark is easier to strip off so that you have a nice, long, thin weaving material. And then this material can be dyed using whatever kinds of dyes, but traditionally weavers have used black walnut, bloodroot, onion skins, pokeberry, other berries, weeds, and tree barks to dye the material to get a contrasting look to the baskets. So this is a honeysuckle plant that I happen to have in my front yard, and I have made baskets with honeysuckle vines, and I plan on making some more with the natural material. It's fun, and this basket gives you a little taste of what it's like with an easier to use material, so that you can go out and experiment with it with whatever plant materials that you can harvest around you. Taking the fiber splint, which has been round up in the bag, so it's curled, and run it through your fingers like this so that it becomes flatter. See how it becomes nice and flatter now? Then cut your spokes. I've cut 6 spokes, and I'm going to lay them in this pattern. 1, 2, 3. Oops, let's lay it so that they're all in the same. And then you're going to lay 4, 5, 6. In wicker weaving, you are taking a material and going under and over another material. And so you can do this with an odd number of spokes or an even number of spokes. If you have an odd number of spokes, you can do continuous weaving, because you will go around under and over and under and over and come back around, and then you will have the alternate under if it was over the round before. But if you have an even number of spokes, which we do in this project, you will need to do chase weaving, which is you will have 2 weavers. One will go around in a pattern under, over, all the way around. And then the second one will be the opposite. If it started with under, the second one will go over, under, all the way around. And so basically it's called chase weaving because the second weaver chases the first weaver all the way around, and you just keep repeating that step all the way around like that. So taking a natural, we're going to hold the center with our finger and go underneath this very bottom one right here, the first one that we laid down. And you can just leave a little tiny tail like that. Then we're gonna hold that with your other finger, and we're just gonna go under and over all the way around, alternating. And this first row is kind of difficult, just like in all of basketry. The first beginning part is difficult. Alternate your fingers so that you're holding everything together. And then stop right there. Take a moment to pull snugly And then pick up your black weaver, insert that behind the next one over, and go the opposite pattern, and then see how that untwisted. So you might need to twist a little bit. Under, over, under, over, under, over. And then snug everything up. Normally I would probably pick this up but for the camera, I'm having to do it flat on the table. So don't be afraid to pick it up if you need to, once it's all in place. All right, so now, under, over. So now we're gonna go like this. We're gonna leave our dark one and take off with the natural color for the third row around. Before you start weaving too much, take a moment to measure your spokes to make sure that they are evenly distributed across the center. So you would just, however long your spokes are, just make sure that when you lay a ruler down or any kind of material to measure with, that the center matches from the center to the outside on both sides. So for example, this one is off, so we're gonna just gently tug a little bit like this until it is more centered. And now it's ready, we're ready to keep weaving. And so I'm doing this natural one all the way around. Whoops. And then I've made it back around. And it's time to pick up the dark colored, the black color, and go around. And some people, you could do these both at the same time. Certainly, you could take a couple stitches and then take a couple stitches. It's up to you. If you want to go all the way around with one and then go all the way around with the other, that's fine. That's the cool thing about basketry, is that there are general rules to it, but you can develop your own preference and your own style. And people have developed their own ingenious methods. And I think there's no really right way or wrong way, just whatever creative way you're able to make a container with raw materials is cool. And the main thing is taking nice even stitches and making sure that your spokes are evenly spaced and that you have this every other pattern happening. I've continued to weave until there are 4 rounds of each color. So you can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 on every single spoke. And so now we're gonna start to shape the basket. And so with this paper fiber, it's really easy to shape the spokes up. Just kind of bend them up a little bit like that with your fingers. And we're gonna start pushing upwards, and that's called upstaking. And so these are now stakes. So we're gonna go around each stake. And it's gonna be gradual. So each row is gonna push up a little bit more. The first ones aren't gonna be as noticeable, but as you go, get a little bit, pull tighter, get a little bit more aggressive with upstaking. And you can see here what I was talking about it not being perfectly dyed. And that's okay, because you're not really even gonna notice. It's just part of the natural look of the material. Also, you can see that it is coming off on my fingers, and during this project, I'll go wash my hands and I'll show you that it comes off pretty easy. It's just a tempera paint powder that is used in preschools. And upstaking, it helps to pull on the weaving, pull the weaver. I think I completely forgot to tell you that this is called the weaver. By tugging on it as you weave, it'll start making the basket shape. And for example, if you ever go too far and you're like, forget that you're chase weaving, you'll notice right away, because you'll be like, oh, oops, I have two black next to each other. And you'll know that that's wrong. So you'll drop that behind and you'll pick up the natural. Round and round. Oops. See, I almost made a mistake. There. All right, so I'll stop right here to show you that we have a basket shape starting here nicely, and we are running out of our weavers. So now we need to learn how to add more weavers. Our weavers are running short, and so now we can add a new weaver. So it's just really easy. Just send it to the back like that, pick up a new weaver, and cross that in the back, leaving about 1 inch like that, so that you have it crossing behind like that, and then just keep weaving. And at first you're just gonna not want to pull very hard. Keep your eye on that end. Go around, and then we're actually gonna be doing both on the same, which makes sense because we started with the same length. So go ahead and just take a black one, cross behind like that, and then the rows in the future are gonna hold everything steady. See, this comes around and holds that in place. All right, and so just keep weaving. We're gonna keep weaving this on a angle, kind of like going out on a slant like this, until the diameter measures about 4 inches. So it's at just 3 1/4. So probably, I don't know, maybe a few more rounds and I'll come back and show you. Okay, so when you're making a basket, some people will be measuring, some people will be counting, some people will just be intuitive, and some people will do a mixture of all three. So I want to let you know that for this project, we are weaving until it's about 4 inches here, and then I've counted, and there's 13 rounds. So if you count the black column like that, there's 13. If you count the natural column right there, then there's 13. And so I'm gonna do 3 now, and I'm going to, instead of being on this flared out, I'm gonna go straight up, because now I'm gonna want to bring the basket inwards. So I'm gonna do 3 rounds of each going straight up. Which will require me to push in and pull more strongly. And I'm going to run out of weaver again. Actually, I'm going to bend these in to encourage the straight up. And we're not pulling super tight, just firm enough to get the shape. Give it a little tug. Now I'm going to finish out the basket by pushing inwards so that we have a narrower opening at the top. So just keep weaving around. And I'm kind of liking doing for this, I'm liking to take a couple stitches like that and then following it with the other weaver. It's kind of relaxing to do the two like that in a row, but like I said, it's up to you. If you want to do the whole round around and then follow it, that's totally fine. See, I pulled a little too tight, so I can just pull it back and get my gauge right. And then just keep this process going over and under, around and around. And I'll come back and show you when it's done and we're ready to do the rim. I went and washed my hands to show you that just with some dish soap and a sponge, all of the color comes off pretty nicely. I still have some dark spots right here in the creases of my fingers, but literally over the period of a day of hand washing or washing dishes, it should come off your hand. So we're moving along quite nicely, and everybody makes a different shaped basket based on their hand size or their intention. So don't really worry about it if your basket goes up straight, it flares out, goes in, whatever. This is just the shape that I decided to do, and this is the shape that I'm demonstrating. And so right now I have 24 rounds, and the measurement on the diameter is about 3 inches. And so now I'm gonna go up for about 6 rounds to have a more straight up. I'm gonna try and get it straight up. All right. So more weaving. Just over and under, all the way around. Here you can see the basket is finished, and all I did was, when I came back around, this has 30 rounds of each, and I just trimmed off, put the weaver behind and trimmed off, so there's about an inch tail as usual. So now the binding takes a little bit of patience and you know, just learn a new thing and give it your best here. So first we're gonna fold the stakes in. So where you'll notice that on the top edge, you're gonna have like, this one's going over, right? So we're gonna fold that one out. This makes it more secure. It's securing it. And then this one, it's on the inside, so we're gonna fold it in. So it's every other, folding it in and out. All the way around. Okay, so when we have those all nicely folded, we're gonna cut them to about 1/4 of an inch. So 1/4 of an inch, you don't have to measure it, but just in case, you know, you can. But it really is just an eyeball thing, because actually you can use, this is 1/4 of an inch. So basically you're just gonna try and make it to be about a square. So like that. So just eyeball it. And then do the same for the inside. Okay. So now you have some leftover splint. And so we're just going to wrap that around the outside edge with about an inch overhang and clip it. And then you're gonna do the same thing, wrap it in the inside, loose, you know, just generally, to get a little bit of an inch overhang, and clip that. Like I said before, basketry has a lot of different methods and techniques, and especially for finishing the edges of baskets. So this is just one method, and it works pretty well. So take a length of weaver that you have left, and if you have black weaver, you can bind with that also, or you can bind with the natural. So just pull apart the rows here gently so that you have 4, so 2 black, 2 natural, and send the weaver through. Pull carefully until you have just a couple inches. Then take the end again, and you're just gonna kind of like sew loosely every every other, so I mean not every other, into the, on each side of the stake. So send through here. And then just leave it loosely, because what we're gonna do to make it more manageable is we're gonna put the rim binding in after we sew loops around. So we're gonna go on the other side of the stake, pull open and stitch through. Make another loose loop. This is all gonna be pulled tighter in the next step. And I'm just kind of holding right here just so I don't accidentally pull anything off. And complete that all the way around. I've made the loose loops along the top, and now I'm going to show you, it's kind of, you just need to take your time. So I'm gonna show you, just insert the inner rim, which would be the shorter piece, in, and the overlap, and then just kind of get this inside See, it just takes a little bit of effort here. Get this inside, just set that there for now. And then go ahead and stick the outer one through the loops. And then make sure we're through all the loops. Okay, so now we're gonna tidy it up. Do is start somewhere. So start with the inner and the outer together like that, so that you are sandwiching, enclosing, and clip with your clothespin, and then go around pinching like this, making sure that the little tabs are inside of the binding, pinching like this all the way around, slowly tidying it up. As you move, keeping everything tight. Not worrying about the loops yet. Okay. Just making a nice little binding. Okay, so when you're back here, pull tight, and then we're going to carefully take off the clothespin, but making sure that we hold everything generally together. And then clip again. Okay, so it's not perfect, but we've got the general way this is gonna pull together. You may have to take a couple tries. Then we're gonna pull tight. We're gonna start pulling the binding tight as we go around. And you can see how, with a little effort, perseverance, it comes together. Oops, I was pulling the wrong way. If these little tabs want to come out, then loosen and push them down in there. And you can have the binding go on top of them if they're being difficult. If it has a little loop, you might have to untwist that. When everything is pulled tightly as possible, then take this starting piece and just send it through the inner binding down and pull down tightly. And then go ahead and cut off the excess. And then come in here and go down. Well, first of all, I'm going to cut this to 1 inch. Send it to the inside. Then you're going to take this piece and just go down through the inner binding, pull tightly, and do it again so that you have 2 tight stitches on the inside, and then clip. And you can clip these inner pieces now shorter if you like. And this piece right here is a little long, so I'm gonna clip it closer. And then you can kind of shape your basket a little bit. Oop, I wanna clip that one. It's a little too long on the inside. Anything that you want to tidy up your basket. And then admire your new wicker basket. This was a fun basket.